Well, hello there. On today's episode, we are going to finish the welding cart I'm making out of an old bed frame. I've done a couple of things since we last saw each other. Number one, I dressed, grinded, and cleaned up the feet on the base of the welding cart. So they look really good. Number two, I've begun the process of cutting and finishing the pieces that will become the top shelf that the welder will actually sit on. One note about this is I've decided not to do the notched version of the pieces, but rather to do them in 45-degree cuts, which of course is the way to do this. Now, I don't have a chop saw, but I do have one of these, and I have an angle grinder with a cutting wheel, and I can finish them off. So that's what I'm doing. I've got one more left to cut. So let's have a look and get that thing cut and start welding. So as you can see, I have 3 sides of my rectangle and I need one more. So what I'm going to do is basically just take this one, which I've already sized and finished, and just lay it over. And I'll use this for the template for my next cut. And some of these have already sort of been, they're angled from the factory. So it's kind of easy for me just to slide this up and get it really close, about right here, and you can see I really just have to trim one little piece off of there. So that makes my life a lot easier. So let's get this thing a mark. All right, I'm marked. Now I just got to clamp it down and cut it. Okay, that's 4 cut pieces. Now I'm going to fit them and just sort of see how they fit together and tweak to taste. All right, so I've got these pieces really close now. They are all just a couple of millimeters. I'm not so worried about these outside. I'm more worried about this inside square. And they are all pretty darn tight. So I'm going to grind them off. I'm going to hit this grinder. By the way, you guys might see me grinding with this thing. This is really interesting. It's a cutting wheel on this side and then a grinding wheel on this side. So you can do a lot with this one piece. It's pretty neat. All right, we are pretty much ready to go. I've got my first 2 pieces on my magnet. And again, I'm kind of using the inside frame as my reference because the outside could be a little bent. Basically, I'm going to take this and make sure this is flat and give this thing a couple of tackaroonies. All right, those welds came out pretty good. Let's see, what's my best one? That's probably my best one of the bunch. I think maybe I could slow my wire speed down a little bit more. I'm gonna do these corners as well and just kind of seal the whole thing up. All right, success, we are fit. Fantastic. Welcome back, it is the next day. So the last thing you saw was I welded up the base platform of which the welder will sit on, or however that sentence should work. What I've done to spare you from watching me grind is I've ground down all the welds around the outside, and this thing looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how this thing turned out. So I've got the base on the table, and then this platform is going to rise above it, and this is actually where the welder will sit. So I'm using more of this angle iron that again came with the bed frame, and I'm going to put it up on the edge of this platform. But to locate the 2 pieces and keep them parallel, what I've decided to do is I've got both risers clamped onto the actual base. Then I'm using this piece of spare metal I have. I'm basically going to tack this together so that these are located, they stay parallel. So when I lift the entire thing up, I can basically clamp it on and they will stay up and down and not move this way and this way. Now that I have these parallel and secured, I've used a 90-degree angle finder and a couple of clamps just to get this thing exactly vertical. I'm going to throw a little weld on it, and then I'll square it up once it's kind of fully ready to roll. That is pretty square. So the plan is that these will mount on the side, and this will be at a slight angle until they meet up. So I think I will weld on one of these first, so I have an idea of what the angle looks like, and then do the same thing where I do a perimeter weld. I'm doing the perimeter weld because it's a lot easier to clean it and dress it when it's on the outside. All right, I've welded on one of these posts and I've cleaned it up. I have to say, for a flux welder right now, no gas, this thing's doing a pretty darn good job once it's all cleaned up. So this thing's square. So now basically I have to measure what I did on this side, duplicate it on the other side, and then clean and dress it and do all the things. So I'll take you guys through that process. I figured it'd be superfluous to do it twice. So let's measure this thing up and get the other one welded on. All right, I've got the side pieces on. They're all cleaned up, as you just saw. I do still have to do that with these, so maybe I'll just bang that out real quick and get that set. And then I'm ready to kind of place the base. We're gonna be looking like a welding cart pretty soon. Then it's just gonna be a matter of accessories, and just bang that out between now and the next time I see you. All right, so I finished up the welds and everything is pretty much dialed in everywhere. I need to now address a couple things. Number one, potentially doing a handle of some sort up here. And number two, a spot where I can hang the hoses. So I might do something off the front or maybe off the side here. At this point, I'm going to clean up my work table a little bit, get the welder on top of it, and then size up where I can put different accessory hooks. So I'm gonna probably want a place for my welding helmet, a place to wrap up the power cord, a place to wrap up the welding and ground wires, and then maybe other accessories that I want to put on there. I found these little L brackets that look kind of cool because they're all cut out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount them like little ears on each side of this, and that will allow me to do one of two things: either wrap the cord around by itself, which is totally cool, or because of all the holes, I can put some bolts through and make a nice cord wrapper out of that. So I think that's going to be the easiest way. Plus it's kind of cool, I can spot weld effectively because they have holes in them. Plus it covers up this gap that I left. So I've got this handle from my toolbox that I'm not using, and this is essentially a metal tube with plastic around the outside, and then these are cast. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out a little bit of space, shorten this tube, and then bolt it together. and that'll be my handle. Someone said these were hardened steel and really difficult to drill through, and they were not kidding. But I won. Okay, we got some leeway here, so this doesn't have to be exact. All right, we have a nice handle, all chromed, super solid, repurposed. All I really want to do next is just something for this cord, and I'm thinking I could just do some all thread there, and just kind of hook it so it wraps around like a vacuum cleaner, like one loop, and then you're good to go. Then I think we are ready for a little paint. To finish up this project, I applied some gray Rust-Oleum hammered paint. I cut some birch plywood, put some ebony stain on it, and then put a coat of polyurethane. I tapped and threaded a couple of holes on the side of the welder, put a couple of bolts in, and I'm using it to wind the power cord, and finally added my Rennch logo to the front. If you've never done a project like this with your welder, I highly encourage you to do it. There's no wrong way to do it. You think on the fly, accommodate it any way you want. There's no wrong answer. Give it a try. Thank you guys for watching. Hit that notification bell to find out when I'm doing new videos for your Porsche or for your garage. We'll see you next time.